Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith, and this is my What I'm Reading Right Now video, where I talk about what I'm reading right now, what I've finished since the last time I told you what I'm reading right now, and what I'm going to read between now and the next time I tell you what I'm reading right now. I feel like I filmed a lot of videos wearing this top recently. I rediscovered it. I bought it in a charity shop and never worn it, and then I rediscovered it and I love it. So no apologies. Outfit repeating is incredibly sustainable. But that's not the point of this video. It's my birthday. I'm very excited. It's been a lovely day so far. I am just at work, but it's been a pretty tolerable working day. So I'm excited to tell you about all of the things. Obviously, the month has ended. January has left us. So long farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. And if you do want to hear all of my very in-depth thoughts about everything that I read in January, I've written that up on my Patreon, which you can join. But I will talk to you about the things I've read in the meantime. I believe the last time we spoke, I had just started Extasia by Claire Legrand. This was sent to me. I should probably disclose that. This was... okay, if I remember correctly, I talked about how I've read Sorrowland, and Sorrowland is just better than this in almost every way. In theory, they are very different books with very different audiences, and one probably ought not to compare them, but I am comparing them because that is my experience. And I think if you were interested in reading this, if the selling points of this, if this whole pious woman chosen by the elders to defeat an unspeakable evil, religious abuse, child abuse, horrifying things, but like maybe empowering, kind of, appeals to you, then you might like this. For me personally, I didn't have a bad time reading this by any means. I wasn't like, this is garbage, throw it away. It was more a case of, I didn't feel like I needed to read this. Like, I didn't get anything new from it. It just felt a little bit brutal and a little bit uninspiring for me personally. For someone else, this might be a hugely inspiring read. Good for you. Wasn't for me. That's just my personal feelings. I read Fallible Justice by Laura Lasco. This is a paranormal detective story. I have also read the sequel, Echo Murder. Echo Murder was my favourite of the two so far. I will be starting the third one next week, which is called Roots of Corruption, I think. And I'm going to try and read the short story as well. I really enjoyed both of these. I think that, what's her name? What's the main character name? Why can't I not remember? Yanya is a really wonderful character. I really like Carrion, her bird shaman apprentice. He's great too. The mysteries are fantastic. The blending of old London, a London of magic, and new London, a London without magic, the modern day London, is done fantastically well. I'm really loving these. Thank you, Asher, for continuing to push them at me. I'm glad to be finishing that series. Then I read Scorpio by G.R. McAllister, who I think his name is actually Greer McAllister, which is confusing. This is... it's a matriarchal world where each different kingdom, queendom, does different things, and Scorpio is the place where all the warriors are, but across this entire kingdom there is the drought of girls. No more girls have been born in a very long time. Speaking of girls, we're about to have a Luna. You really don't need to, like, make gross noises. No, not squeaky toy time. It's really not. We'll move on. So, there's the drought of girls. No more girls have been born. Oh no, how terrible. In theory, interesting to explore kind of economically, politically, what happens when there are no more girls born in a patriarchal society. I don't think this book did anything particularly interesting with it. It felt very much like a 430-page prologue to a very different book. I wasn't particularly interested in it. I don't think I would read more books in the series unless someone told me outright, oh no, the book 2 is absolutely fantastic, you have to pick it up. This is one that I could go into a lot more detail about my feelings on it, but I think even if I put, like, all of my gender theory stuff into it, it wouldn't change the fact that the book is not, the actual plot isn't that interesting. I feel like someone else could do something cool with this concept, and it is not this. And then yesterday evening, I was What are you doing? She's found a treat. Well, there we go. And then yesterday evening, I was planning on reading half of this, and then it blew me away so much that I ended up reading the entire thing. This is When the Moon Was Ours. This is the second book in my Anna Marie McLemore read-along. This is absolutely wonderful. At the moment, this might be my favourite book of theirs that I've read. Even more so than Blanca y Roja? Maybe. This is absolutely beautiful. You have these two characters, Miel and Sam, and they fall in love, and it's this magical realism thing of Miel just has roses growing out of her arm. Roses grow from her arm. Sam paints these beautiful moons and puts them all around the town. It's lovely. Then the Bonner sisters decide that they want the roses that Miel has, and Miel's like, no, I'm not going to give you my roses. Bad things ensue, and it's kind of about family and identity and being trans and just all of this interesting stuff wrapped up in this really beautiful story that just, it was so good. And I had this like huge ache after reading it, which very rarely happens to me. I had a real emotional, in-depth emotional feelings time with this book, and I kind of want to read it again. And I will be rereading it in the future. I'm so glad that I have a copy. If you haven't read this, do yourself a favour. You should read it. It's great. Let's go to what I'm currently reading. I'm in the middle of Four Things poetry collection. Don't need to talk about it. I'm reading it very slowly. Raven Stratagem. I'm so close to the end. I feel like you're all really bored of me telling you about this now, but let me tell you how much I have left. 4 hours, which is more like kind of an hour and a half at the speed that I listen to it. I will be listening to it on my walk this evening, so maybe I can finish it today, if not tomorrow. By next week, I'm hoping to have started whatever the third one's called. Revenant Gun. There we go. And I'm also reading Archive of the Forgotten. This is the second book in the Hell's Library series. I am 20 pages in. I've not got very far at all. I'm excited to keep reading this. I got distracted by When the Moon Was Ours. It's going to be great. That's a reread. And I am halfway through Lost Worlds and Mythological Kingdoms, which I started kind of on a whim last week, and then for some reason told myself that I needed to read half of it this week. That's next week. I'm meant to be starting it, but I've swapped some things around. It's absolutely fine. This is a collection of short stories about, unsurprisingly, Lost Worlds and Mythological Kingdoms. It's been really good so far. It's been a really good mix of things, from stories told in interesting narrative ways to stories in vastly diverse settings, from space to the future to underground to overground to wombling free. There have been no wombling free stories. I don't want to missell it to you, but if any book could have them, it's this one. I'm having a good time. I think that's all the things I'm reading right now. What's next week? So I still need to get to Animorphs 30 this week, which I'm currently editing Animorphs 29, so it's feeling very Animorphs heavy, and I don't think that's going to change until April is over, but that's fine. That's fine. I think I'm going to save that for Sunday, though, just so I can really have a run at it. I've mentioned Revenant Gun, I've mentioned Roots of Corruption. Wild Beauty is here somewhere. Where is it? Quest. Wild Beauty is the next book in my A.M. Macklemore read-along. This is the first A.M. Macklemore book I ever read, and I remember nothing about it, but having read the other two and loved them, I'm excited to visit this again. I feel like I understand magical realism a bit more now as well. Finishing Archive of the Forgotten, then reading The God of Lost Words, which is the third book in that series. I'm excited, and my other review copy I'm going to get to is Comeuppance Served Cold by... I can't remember who it's by. It looks like this. It's a murder mystery, I think, magical 20s. It's going to be either a very good time or a very meh time. We'll find out together. New releases this week. I have a few, actually. The one that I have pre-ordered that has not arrived yet, and I think it's not going to arrive today. I suspect something is going to awry with the whole paper shortage UK rights stuff, but it is In the Serpent's Wake by Rachel Hartman. This is the sequel to Tess of the Road. I wasn't going to read it immediately anyway, because I want to do a reread, but I'm annoyed that it hasn't arrived. That's by the by. Then also we have A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross, I think? I'll put the cover up again because my memory does not serve me well. This I'm annoyed because my NetGalley wish got approved 2 days before the pub date. I'm not going to read it in time for the pub date. I don't have time to read it until March, so I shall read it then. And then also we have Fire Becomes Her by Rosie Thor, which I'm going to hopefully pick up an ebook copy of because I think it sounds like a good thing and I want to support the author. And The Bone Spindle, which I think is a pretty well known in the internetosphere upcoming, well, it's come up by the time you're watching this, sapphic book that Asha has read on my behalf and will doubtless have a review for very soon. I'm interested to hear her thoughts on it, and then I will make up my mind based on that. I think it's probably going to be one that I'll borrow rather than buying for myself, but we'll see. We'll see. Is that everything? That's everything! As you can tell, I have a lot of energy today, and it's all coming out on you. What are you reading? What have you been up to? Let me know down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated, and it brought Luna back upstairs, which is always nice. Follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord, where we have a wonderful time talking about books. Come hang out on Patreon to hear even more of my thoughts and feelings on the things that I'm reading. Do we need to? No. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. It's gonna be some bloopers now. Even if but I think then reading The God of Lost Words, yes, every time.